time. Again.
Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
Got a notification that we're live.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there it is. We did believe really hard.
We believed the hardest.
Yeah, baby.
Maximum belief.
Take 3. Okay.
Really sorry that you missed the first take there because we were screaming. We were on fire. You'll have to listen to the audio version for that.
What the hell was that?
We angered the podcast gods, and so
The old gods of Asgard.
Yeah.
We're
the old
upset with
gods
us.
of Podgard. Anyways, to recap for the people that missed the not live bit because it wasn't live for fucking reasons, I guess. I don't know. We're talking about the Game Awards, and they happened, and 2 of the 3 of us watched them, and 1 of the 3 of us is gonna kind of watch them in the little window in the corner of the stream. It's gonna be great. Sort of a TGA speed run. Everybody's gonna be really impressed. We're all gonna clap. Not actually, because it might get really loud and weird in the audio.
Peak. We don't do that. Yeah, no clapping.
No clapping. So, anyways, we were talking about Alan Wake 2 having an amazing performance of the old gods of Asgard. Yada yada yada. Also, we had a performance of the new track from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that looked and sounded amazing, and the trailer filled me with great joy, just as it always does, because this is the chapter that's got all the wacky bullshit.
Man, this trailer looks outrageous. They nailed the character design on Dio.
Yeah, I'm super jazzed. It's just all good, baby. All good. All good, all great, all wonderful.
That one most anticipated, right? It had to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So they had a performance and everybody's watching and we're all woo-wee. Yep.
Okay.
It's goddamn lovely. I'm so excited. Jesus, Cloud even looks with a blue cape and shit like, oh, rah!
Oh, it's a big Aerith performance. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Tiny Bronco. Okay.
It's all of it. It's all good, baby.
I'm in.
All gravy. Okay.
1,000 out of 10 will play.
Yeah.
While we're on the topic of Final Fantasy, can I just say what a travesty it is that Ben Starr didn't win for performance?
It does.
Love Asterian's performance, but it's nowhere near the highs of Clive Rossfield.
Not even close. Ben got robbed. That's one of the greatest performances I've ever seen in any sort of media.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, Astarion was good, whatever his name is, but I feel like that was just a choice of the times to give him the award. Ben should have won hands down. There was nobody that even came close to him this year.
Let's get that hashtag going. Hashtag Ben should have won hands down. I think that's going to catch on.
What a joke.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little unruly, it's a little long, but we can, just squeeze it in. Just sort of make it happen.
Tweets can be as long as you want now, so you just get it in there.
It's true. It's all fucking wordy hogwash.
Yeah. Yeah, Coda says fuck game of the year. Final Fantasy 16 forever.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, but maybe.
Yeah. Baldur's Gate 3 is really good.
It's really good. Yeah, no, it's really good.
It's really fucking good.
Yeah.
I loved Final Fantasy 16. That was my very first and so far only hundo. It's basically the perfect Final Fantasy experience. distilled to its purest form, but fuck me, Baldur's Gate is good.
It's very good. Very, very good. Personally, I've been thinking a lot about it, fellas. I've been racking my brain, and now that it's all said and done, when we come up with our lists, I think Alan Wake is going to be sitting at the top of mine.
I haven't finished it yet, but I'm very much enjoying it. It's really well done.
It's so good. It's so good. But yeah, Game Awards.
What about Starfield?
Oh, yes.
Well, it's a lock for. Well, no, it's not even a lock for most disappointing because Forspoken was also released this year.
Forspoken and Redfall as well.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
Redfall.
Yeah.
Oh
Wow.
my god.
So
And a game that we
disappointing.
should
It's completely off the radar.
One game that we should talk about later as well is The Day Before. I don't know if y'all have been following along with this story, but
I heard about it today.
many people were predicting this to be a scam, and sure enough, it looks like this was a complete scam. So we'll have to talk about that later.
Okay, so let's dip back to see what other cool biz happened at TGA. So the big controversy was that like actual devs and voice actors and game staff had about 30 seconds before the music started playing to boot them off the fucking stage.
Yeah.
On the flip side, Jeff's best friend, Hideo Kojima, had all the time he needed.
Yeah, well, he deserves it.
Okay, sure, but also what they showed is not even kind of a game yet.
No.
It was, in fact, 3 people saying sort of spooky shit directly to camera, so close that I could count their pores.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
That's the kind of treatment you get when you put Jeff Keighley in your game.
yeah, sure, it's great that it's great that like Hideo's out there doing his thing, getting wild and woolly, but no game, no hype. All right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm fucking hyped. I want it. I don't know what the fuck it is, but I want it. I know it's an Xbox exclusive,
Yes.
and I want it.
Yes.
Oh, it's got this
Yes.
guy.
Jordan Peele?
No,
Yeah.
the old guy from Game of Thrones.
Oh,
Yes. Yes.
yeah. Yeah, he confirmed that it's gonna be like some sort of hybrid movie gaming experience, which to be honest, I mean, you could say the same thing about all of his games.
It's true.
Or movie hybrid gaming experiences.
That's what he makes. That's what he likes.
But yeah, this one I want it. I want it. I don't know what it is, but I want it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm excited by the idea of him making a horror game. You know, I feel like we were robbed all those years ago of that experience, and then maybe we'll get that back. On the other hand, personally, I, James, cannot get into his games. I want to. I love him as a person. I think he's great. I appreciate the artistry. The mechanical complexity, the care and attention, the detail, the depth. I love all of it. The crazy lore. Then I sit down to play and I bounce like a rubber ball after sub 10 hours every time. So it's like a from a distance thing where I'm like, oh man, I'm so excited for you guys. You're gonna have so much fun with this. I don't know. I'm gonna have to be locked into a fucking room or something, like a hyperbaric time chamber, and just carve 3 months out of quantum space to try to like get better acquainted with these games that I have so far fully failed to do so for my entire adult life and several separate tries.
Yeah.
The thing is, you got to go in knowing what to expect. You got to know what it's going to do. You got to know it's going to subject you to a 25-minute cutscene about ordering pizza, and then immediately call you on the phone and say, James, if you want to order a pizza, you can use the phone.
That's
I'm
great.
just
I
gonna
love that.
slap you in the face with that shit for like the
Weird
whole
campy
time.
nonsense. I love that shit. I love it. I love it. Okay. However, you get things like um Death Stranding, where every action, everything you do is a little bit stressful and difficult. But it's also an open world game, but there's no chance to relax. It's just mechanically, it feels like they're asking a lot from me, a person with attention deficit disorder. It feels like Kojima is bullying me for the way my brain is wired. It's like,
I mean, MGS4 does hold the world record for longest cutscene in the game, still to this day. So
that.
Does it really?
See, I love that.
yeah, yeah,
I want that.
yeah, yeah. The about the midway point in MGS4 when Ocelot on the boat, when he's
Oh.
fucking shooting his finger guns. Yeah, yo, that is good shit.
I need what I need is I need a friend beside me on the couch who I can hand the controller to when it gets mechanically frustrating and stupid.
Yeah.
But like, I love the camp, I love the crazy. This section is bullshit. Can you do this? And they just hand it off to them, and then the two of us do this thing. Because
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing through the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection on stream, and I've got to admit, I've been doing them in chronological order. So I started with MGS3, and after maybe 4 or 5 years off from the series, having played all these games 20 plus times, I found it rather difficult for over the first few hours to get back into the somewhat aged controls. It's a little wonky. It's a little wonky, you know?
So you're not getting the big boss rating.
Oh, I did not get the big boss rating. But I guess like Foxhound technically is the highest rating in MGS3, and I definitely did go and do that. But my first playthrough back, it was a little rough. It was a little rough. But yeah, you know, we got the platinum in that one, and it was fun to go back and play Metal Gear 1 and 2 on the MSX. Interesting, but also, of course, quite clunky.
yeah, even now, even us sitting here talking about it, I can feel myself wanting to go back and try to power through the entire Metal Gear Solid series again. And
You really should.
I know I should, and I want to, but then I just keep running into the bullshit, and I give up because I don't have that good of an attention span.
Yeah.
It's going to take me a long time, for example, to play through Baldur's Gate 3 because it's the same thing where every encounter is a little bit difficult and frustrating. You cross that critical threshold, right? Because people have told me, you know, in due confidence, hey, you're playing a sorcerer. By the time you get to level 7, you have unlocked several versions of the magic win button. Just, you know, go forth and have fun.
Right.
But until you get to that critical juncture, it's actually quite difficult.
Totally.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
But as soon as you unlock like Fireball or whatever, you're sort of sleepwalking through the game.
The level of challenge in that game unlocks a kind of joy that you don't get out of many games, because while Rhett and I were playing that game on the Extra Life stream, we had some battles that were absolutely epic and like pulled through just by the skins of our teeth, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Yes,
figuring
every
out how to
fight
get to that point.
Incredible.
Man, so
clash.
good.
Yeah, every battle, most of the battles, they really do feel like puzzles with a large number of solutions to them. It's probably the closest game I've felt to feeling like it's infinite in the ways that you can tackle it.
Yeah.
You know?
I watched a short video a day or two ago where this lady was like, okay, I'm gonna run through the solutions to the Goblin Camp that people have sent to me, and there was like 14 or something,
Yeah.
and I hadn't heard of like 8 of them.
Totally. Totally. Things that you would never think to try. And then you hear
Yeah,
them and you're like, oh, of course. Of course that
yeah.
would work,
Of course, that makes sense in
Yeah.
retrospect. Yes, you can poison the punch bowl. You can fuck up that whole drunken party.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
like
can
you're
side
having
with you could side with the spiders and start a spider revolution.
Yeah. I really like the solution where I can't remember which fight it was, but there was one person that was really fucking up our team. He was casting magic from afar. And the easiest solution was to sneak up behind him and plant there's like a flower that negates all type of spells. So you can sneak up behind him, plant the flower on him, and then go back and start the fight. And he can't do shit. He's just kind of standing there, waving his wand, and nothing's happening. Little sparks are flying out of it.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, I understand why it won Game of the Year. It's very much a gamer's game. It was made by nerds, for nerds. The majority of gamers are nerds. And I understand. That's why it won. But, man, there was just nothing that surprised me or kept me on the edge of my seat more than Alan Wake did this year.
Yeah.
That shit blew me away. And it's doing stuff that I've never seen in a game before. Again, it's tough because, like, James, since you loved Alan Wake so much, I know you're gonna play the second one. Paul, I know you haven't finished it, so I really don't want to say too much because obviously so much of the joy of it was finding out or discovering all the stuff for yourself. But man,
So-
it was a good
It's
game.
just it's so well constructed. Like I won't say what happens, but at the end of chapter 1, I almost shit my pants. It was it was like I knew it was gonna happen, but it was that shocking at the moment that I was like,
Was it the
Fuck
scene
yeah.
the scene on the shore?
no, in the basement.
Oh, in the basement. Yeah.
I was like, yes.
Stuff. Good stuff.
Oh,
Yes.
it's,
Okay.
it's good. It's
So there's been some discussion online where Spider-Man 2 fans are mad that their shit got like
good.
totally iced out,
Yeah. Not a
zero
s-
summed.
Yeah.
While Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year, and they're like, "Oh my God, look at this bullshit! I can't believe this dinky little game won Game of the Year," and it's just
I mean, it's definitely not dinky by any means.
Jesus Christ, no! It is a
It's definitely not
monumental,
dinky.
incredible achievement on every level.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Spider-Man 2 is also very fucking impressive. People were talking about, like, somebody showed this clip of like Spider-Man or Miles, one of the Spider-Men, doing some sort of crazy block spanning like web slingshot move, and it's all seamless and smooth and buttery and beautiful, and people are like, "Oh, that's just a cutscene," and I'm like, "Well, no, what it is it's a cutscene perfectly blended into the action with no slowdown, no lag whatsoever, just
Yeah.
like you going through like 2 or 3 level zones or like 7 or 8 blocks at like 60 frames per second, completely perfect,
Buttery
going from
smooth.
cutscene to combat with like not a hitch, nothing whatsoever.
Yeah.
In terms of like cinematic action type game experiences, Spider-Man 2 is really, really impressive.
It's a masterpiece.
But
It
there's
really is.
so many good games.
Man, it was the year of masterpieces, though.
Yes.
It really was.
Yeah.
You know?
Like any one of those games that was on the list for Game of the Year could have feasibly won in any other year. Like they probably all 6 of them would have beaten what won last year.
What won last year?
Exactly.
Was it Elden? No, not Elden Ring. Was it
It
Elden
was.
Ring?
It was
It was
Elden
Elden
Ring.
Ring.
Well, like,
It-
I don't think Mario Wonder beats Elden Ring,
Yeah.
but all the other ones, yeah.
You know what I mean. They're all Game of the Year caliber games.
Yeah, very much so. Coda says, LOL, Spider-Man 2 got railed, and it's kind of funny.
I mean, people need to get over their their love of their console on the internet, just chill for a
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
People who had, like across the world voted for Baldur's Gate, great. You loved Spider-Man, also great. The fact that Baldur's Gate 3 won at the Game Awards, which is just called that because nobody had picked up the name yet and Jeff chose it, it doesn't diminish anything else that happened in the industry. If you thought Spider-Man was the best game of the year, Spider-Man is the best game of the year. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
So love
Yeah.
what you love and have a good time.
100%. There's way too many games out now to be worried about what you're not playing. It's just way too much good shit to go out there and play.
Spider-Man is really good though.
It's fucking
Yeah.
amazing. Do you agree with my 100 that I gave it? My one and only 100?
I would probably knock a few points off because I encountered some more bugs than you did.
Okay. Yeah, because
But it's like a 9.5 easily.
because a lot of people said that the day one patch broke a lot of the game.
I heard that.
Yeah, right? Like during my testing time, there was just a few minor things that happened, but generally from start to finish, it was absolutely smooth. No issues.
It's bizarre.
So, yeah. Which like I believe that day one patch broke some stuff too. I don't know if I was talking about this the last time we were talking Spider-Man, but when I started my ultimate playthrough on stream, within that very first scene where you're fighting Sandman, there's a part where you need to web up and through like a section of a broken wall to advance, and it gives you a prompt to do so. That prompt never appeared, and I was just standing there like, I think I broke the game. I could not progress whatsoever, and I didn't see anything like that during my testing period.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I believe that the day one patch did mess some things up.
It's probably a lot tidier now, but
Yeah,
it's very un-Insomniac for that kind of thing to happen. Usually their games are pretty tight. But anyway,
I think, yeah. I personally, I have a really hard time giving direct sequels the same shine that the original got. Like, I was thinking about it just now, and for me personally, Breath of the Wild is a hundo. I never got the chance to review it because I was too fresh at the time. But for me, it was a 100% Zelda experience. Probably the best Zelda game I've played in 2 decades, easy. Like no competition whatsoever. Tears of the Kingdom, on the other hand, is Breath of the Wild with a bunch of sick bells and whistles thrown on, which is both a benefit and a detriment. Because, like, yeah, I've seen a lot of this before, and it's still good, but I've seen it, you know? And they did do a lot. They did a lot of work to improve upon the formula and make things way better than they used to be. There's a lot of little things that they fixed. There's a lot of things that are way better. But I just feel this sort of like dummy hindbrain bias where I'm like, oh, no, I don't know, man. It's just because it's a direct sequel where I'm like, I don't know, you know, I give it like a 90 or a 95, yes, because it's a fucking excellent game. I don't know if I can give it a successive 100. I don't know. That's just me. That's just a personal thing. That's not based on anything objective whatsoever. That's just like where I'm at in terms of my experience.
Yeah, with Spider-Man, I had a tough time giving it anything but 100 because I read Paul's review of the first Spider-Man, and
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 from top to bottom is a better game.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. And
Mhm.
I agreed with Paul's 100 for the original.
That's fair. That's fair.
So
You could you
know?
you could use that same argument for Tears of the Kingdom, where it's just a better game.
Yeah.
The story is so much better. There's like a sort of third act, not like a narrative twist, but a mechanical one, where like you understand the way the game is structured and it's supposed to be the end, and then it's not the end, and you're like, oh fuck, okay, cool. And there's just this whole new thing for you to do, which was like, to me, was really interesting because it felt like a twist, even though it absolutely wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that's just because experienced Zelda players are so used to things happening in a certain manner that when you pull that rug out from under them, they're like, oh, whoa, okay, cool, awesome.
So that's where it's impossible to get away from the subjective nature of reviews, because it does
Yeah.
depend on your specific experience. For myself, I bounced off of Breath of the Wild. I know it's a great game, but it didn't resonate with me, and therefore, when I didn't bounce off of Tears of the Kingdom, which I've been playing recently, it hits a lot harder for me. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a problem giving Tears of the Kingdom a 100 or a 95, even knowing that Breath of the Wild exists, because I didn't have that experience with it. And so
Yeah.
it does depend on what you've seen up to a certain point, and there's no way to get away from that.
No, and I think as long as you're upfront about that when you're doing your sort of critical analysis of a game, you should be in the clear. Where it's just like, listen, this is my personal experience. Here's a caveat. Just a little heads up. This is where I'm at, and this is how I'm approaching it. This is the lens through which I'm viewing this experience, right?
Yeah.
And I just think as long as you're upfront about that when people do inevitably bitch about your review, you can say, well, hey, guess what? Go fist yourself on camera because I covered that base. Okay. No lube, by the way. You haven't earned that. That's for people with reading comprehension. Okay, but still, go for it. Oh my God. Every time we try to talk about something at the Game Awards, we go off on another 11-minute tangent. And it's great. I love it. But
Yeah, we've talked about like one thing from the Game Awards.
wow, like 2 or 3 or 4 things. There was a snubbing, there's Game of the Year, there's a couple of performances.
I guess.
There's the winners and losers. There's the voice acting award. Let's see what else. There were a lot of trailers. Guys, there were a lot of trailers. There were a lot of fucking trailers. A lot of them were for things I've never heard of. It was brand new IP, which I feel kind of weird about because for me, I am sort of a simple animal when it comes to this show. I live for the hype. I understand that we're trying to highlight and showcase and celebrate the good work of these people, and I respect that. But also, I like when the trailers come on and I get excited because I'm a child.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was just going to say, I had this weird experience because when it's a brand new IP, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm curious. I'm interested, but it's not the same kind of hype as if something I was expecting or hoping for.
Right.
That's
I
why
totally get what you mean. There was nothing there that they showed off that got me as frisky as, say, Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta did when they announced that,
Yeah. Instead, you're just like, ooh, that could be cool. Maybe.
Yeah. So with that though, that could be cool. Am I alone in thinking that the majority of what was shown off wasn't all that interesting?
It was a lot of like there's a lot of forgettable shit.
Like there's a couple things.
Yeah.
Like what stands out in that case?
So the first thing for me that stood out was that new game from the developers behind Ori. What was that game called? It's like another top-down action adventure. What was the game called? No Rest for the Wicked or something?
No Rest for the Wicked. That is a game that was shown.
Yeah. Yeah, that looked pretty sweet, I thought.
So, speaking of hype, speaking of foolish hype, there actually was some things. You know what? I've decided I'm going to look up a list. I'm going to cheat a little bit, not rely on my fucking memory. And I'm gonna take a look at a list and say, hey, which of these things do I remember caring about? Which of these things do I not give a shit about? That thing that Matthew McConaughey showed off, who cares?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Heads up, who cares? Okay. The next, yeah.
Coda says he freaked out like a child over the Dragon Ball Z announcement.
Oh, yeah. I'm torn about that because they've officially passed the point where they're trying to like create an experience that looks like the anime, and now they're sort of like moving beyond that. For me, because I'm an old man and I remember the original Dragon Ball Z, so this looks better than the show did, and so I feel sort of weird about it because it's like it feels almost uncanny valley because it's too slick. Does that make sense?
But haven't they made this game like 117 times at this
Yeah.
point?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's if you love Dragon Ball, it's good every time. Like it's never
that's fair.
like,
Yeah.
like they perfected the formula to the point where like you want to do it on a new console generation with like new technology, new twists, new upgrades. You're like, yeah, maybe you just really fucking love doing these huge, ridiculous power battles in the middle of a desolate arena, right? Like, if that's your jam, then every time one of these games come out, it's like second Christmas. It fucking rips.
Yeah, I don't know. It just looked like more of that Bandai Namco bullshit to me.
Well, to be fair, they're way better at Dragon Ball than they are at basically everything
Everything
else.
else, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about one thing that I got and reasonably excited about for like no good fucking reason, and that's the fucking the new thing from Sean Murray, the next thing from the No Man's Sky team.
Yeah.
It's called like Light No Fires or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Light No Fire. And he starts talking about it, and I'm like, okay, first of all, you are promising things you cannot possibly deliver on. Second of all, this looks so sick.
Yeah. I mean, you would think that he would have learned from No Man's Sky to overpromise and underdeliver.
Not only has he not learned, but he's posting memes on his personal Twitter that are like specifically about him doing the hype thing for the second time since 2016. So he's like fully aware of like what crazy shit he promised on stage at TGA, and he's still like, yeah, it's funny, right, that I said something insane, and he's just like rolling with it and being like, yeah.
Well, I mean, No Man's Sky has like 100 quintillion planets. This is one. So
Yeah, but when you
that's
think
like
about it,
that's a dramatic scaling back. I think they can deliver.
but the way he described it was where he's just like, I want to make an open world, and like this game or this game is like, no, like Earth, like a world. And you're like, okay, buddy. When you put it that way, this actually seems like a larger scale than No Man's Sky.
Mm.
It looks pretty cool.
It looks so fucking cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so did No Man's Sky when it was unveiled.
I know. I fell for that. It took them years to fix it. I fell for this immediately. I say once again, I am a child when it comes to these presentations. I have no capacity for objectivity.
But now No Man's Sky is good. It's better than Starfield.
Oh, wait a minute. But it only took
so
7
good.
years.
Yeah, it only
is
took
Here's
7
the
years.
updates. Mhm.
Yeah, which is fine by me. I actually do kind of want to go back and play No Man's Sky again, try to, fuck around a little more and see what I can do, have some fun.
As a guy who played Starfield, you're going to be blown away when you get in your ship and then you take off.
Oh, yeah.
And then you fly the ship. And then you're in space. And then you fly the ship wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else happened?
Okay. Okay. They showed like 15 seconds of new footage for Fallout, the TV show, which will be probably good because actually Amazon has a pretty good
Yeah, it looks
record of
all
making
right.
pretty good TV.
100%.
Yeah.
You ain't got Neil Druckmann behind it, so I think it's gonna be great.
Fuck! They're making a Blade game. Arcane is making a Blade game. Making a Blade game. Fuck!
Mhm.
Oh man.
Is there
Oh,
is there a
man.
trailer for that or no?
I mean, not like a gameplay trailer, no.
All I know is there better be a fucking Wesley Snipes skin, or I'm not buying it. Wesley Snipes or bust. I don't care that he went to prison for tax evasion. Right? Give me that
He's out. It's
skin.
fine. It's fine. He's out.
Yeah, it's
Um,
fine. It's fine.
So
Yeah,
here's the thing about
I'm-
a Blade game, though. Like, it makes sense for Arcane to make it because that franchise lends itself to a Dishonored type game.
Mhm.
But I desperately hope it's not one of those.
Right.
Like, can they do something else?
Well,
Redfall suggests the answer is no.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably going to be kind of a hot mess. But on the other hand, it's an established franchise with, 50 years of lore to dig into.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, but I mean, the fucking lore was not the issue with Redfall.
no, the issue was that mechanically it was a complete fuckfest. Also, it's an Arcane Bethesda game, so it's not gonna be that. But like,
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a way for them to make it decent. They can definitely do it. Will they? I don't know, but they can. They can absolutely do it.
I don't know. Maybe this is going to be their redemption arc after Redfall.
Well, maybe because they only have one character with one set of skills to work on. They can hone it and make it sexy and smooth, and they can make it work, right? If it's just like a big cool single player experience, right? They can drill down and make it feel great instead of trying to like spread their shit over like a bunch of character classes and potential encounter flavors and like big open world wide floppy Bethesda style bullshit. You know what I mean? Like it could very well be a smaller scale project which will benefit more from their kind of attention.
Right.
Right? Like just because the last thing they did was like Redfall and like Bethesda's generally known for big crazy games, it doesn't mean that they can't make something smaller, more like Dishonored than Redfall, which still has the potential to at least be mechanically sound and narratively interesting. Or it'll be a messy, sloppy fuckfest, and the only good thing that'll come out of it is that I'm probably going to start reading the comics. Yeah.
I'd play a Blade game.
Yeah.
Sure.
Did they show Hellblade 2?
Sort of.
Sensua? Is that what that is?
Senua's
Yeah.
Saga?
Sensua Saga? Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And? Does
It
it
actually
look
looked
like a
pretty
game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It actually looked pretty good. Looked very, very cinematic. Gorgeous. I never played the first one, so I don't know what the fuck the game's about, but yeah, it looked good. I'd say it was one of the trailers that stood out above the rest.
Yeah.
The first one is about someone losing their mind,
Mm-hmm.
and it's quite the auditory experience.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
This looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Second one's about someone losing their virginity.
Zing.
It's
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
A little bit of a different direction they took this one.
That's surprising based on this video that I'm watching, but
Yeah. Okay. So, a couple things I want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Senwald looks great. It's actually, honestly, one of the reasons that game was one of the reasons I decided to pull the trigger and buying an Xbox. Was like, oh, if they're making games like that for the console, I should probably get the. And I actually still, like a year and change later, feel really good about my decision to buy an Xbox. I love the console. It's great. Sega did this weird thing where they were like, hey, we're making like 5 sequels to beloved franchises. More than 5. We're going to show you 10 seconds of footage each from 5 different ones. So there's Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, and Crazy Taxi. And they're doing new shit for all of them. And it's a really weird, bold move where they're like, yeah, we're making shit. It's cool. Don't worry, guys. We're doing it. We're coming back. I mean, we've always been back, but we're coming even backer. We're extra back. And part of me is like, did they make all those announcements into one trailer because maybe they don't look so hot right now? Or do they not have anything to really show for those games? So they were just like, here's some footage subject to change. And you know what I mean? Just because they had nothing? Or are they just trying to swing their big game making dick around, being like, we're not remaking one game, we're remaking 5.
Yeah. Speaking of buying an Xbox, Coda asks, would there be a real argument to buy an Xbox over a PC?
over a PC?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, but that is kind of what I did. Now, I'm not saying that what I did was correct, but Coda, I found myself exhausted by constantly trying to keep up with PC gaming because you have to buy crazy equipment to do it. You have to be really upgrading and keeping on top of your video cards and your processors and all this shit. And it's a real nasty rat race. And once you do that, there's always fucking around in the back end to get things to run properly. Where it's just like,
true.
oh, you have to change these things and do this and tinker around and get your fucking wrench out. You know what I mean? It's exhausting. But I told myself, what if I just got a Series X?
Yeah.
Because a lot of these games also come out for Xbox.
Yeah.
And I don't have to do any fucking around. I could just play it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, to me, that's gaming. To me, that's cinema. I'm in. I'm ready. So that's one of the big reasons for me getting an Xbox, because I was like, I don't want to run this race anymore. I just kind of want to like let Microsoft figure it out for me. And so far it's been fine between that and the fact that I also have a PS5 because I'm a man with a low disposable income and poor impulse control. I've pretty much had my gaming fix covered, more than covered.
So the reason I snapped no is manyfold. One, I don't like the Xbox interface.
Sure, good
I think
reason.
it's slow and broken. 2, most games that come out on PC are pretty well optimized for a wide range of things. So you buy a PC today, it will work for like 5 years. You're not going to be running things on Ultra by the end of that 5 years, for sure. But turns out, low looks pretty good for the most part.
Yeah.
3, all the things that come out on Xbox also come out on PC. Plus, you get all the games that only come out on PC. So if you like a wider variety of games, you like simulation games, you like RPG games, there's way more variety on a PC.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was a 4th point, but I don't remember what it is. But I feel like the first 3 are convincing.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just to me, the PC is the pain in the ass road, but ultimately
For sure.
very fulfilling. Whereas Xbox is the easy road with some serious drawbacks. So it's kind of up to you which route you want to go. Or you could do what I did and do kind of both, where you get a laptop with a graphics card that can kind of run games, but you find it frustrating and you don't really have patience for it, so you generally don't use it. Because again, I have very serious ADD and I do not have the patience to fuck with settings to make something work when I can just get it on a console where it works. And any PC you buy will generally play the cool, weird indie games that don't ever come out on console. So, like Lethal Company, for example, my shitty laptop can for sure run that game.
That looks hilarious, by the way.
Yes. For our big game of the year survey, I put that one down, I think, for both best indie and like the biggest surprise.
I don't know that it's going to win best indie because technically Baldur's Gate is an indie game.
Well, I mean,
It's self-published. That's the definition of an indie.
Yeah.
I mean, let's say Baldur's Gate's not in there. Sea of Stars is going to win that.
That's true. That's true.
I think most people won't. I don't know how many people even nominated Baldur's Gate 3 for indie because it's so big and polished.
Yeah, yeah,
That it, like-
I definitely did not.
Yeah, right? Like, it didn't even occur to me.
No,
It was-
no.
I put it in there because it's self-published. I think it's not. It doesn't fit in the category based on the spirit of the category. The spirit being, this is a smaller experience
Right.
Yeah.
or a small team
Because
or
like,
whatever.
because like Larian Studios, they are technically indie because they don't have like a big crazy publisher, but they also have like well over a decade of like really reliable experience making huge beloved games.
Yes. And hundreds of employees and a zillion dollars of funding.
Yeah, so like it feels weird to
But
call it.
technically, if you're looking at the
Yes.
the definition of the category, an indie game is self-published. Anyway,
Oh, yes. So another thing that they dropped at TGA that I was actually kind of excited about is Visions of Mana. It's been a long time since there's been a new Mana game from Square Enix, and it looks like a Mana game, to be fair. But if I get to run around and bask in the shade of that giant magic tree that is the central pillar of all Mana games, I will give it a 9 out of 10. I just know this about myself. I fucking love that tree.
Yeah.
I fucking love those games. Some of them are garbage. Some of them are amazing.
it's real pretty.
Maybe this one will be good.
It looks like a mix of Xenoblade Chronicles and that one Dragon Quest game where it was like an open world. Forget that.
Sure,
what that was
like
called.
the newest one, 11 or whatever.
No, it was like halfway between Dragon Quest and a Musou game.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I forget what it's called. Anyway, that looks cool.
Yeah. It doesn't sound the same crazy alarm bells because it's an old school Square Enix franchise and those don't tend to get the same shine. But it's the first time they've made a new one in quite a while, and like maybe it'll be fun and cool. Maybe it'll be exhausting dog shit. Who's to say? Surely not me.
Yeah.
But like,
Not yet, anyway.
no.
It will be, though. Mark my words. You will review this, James.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I probably will. I mean, I'll definitely ask to review it, and they might stiff me on it. Who knows? Who knows how the tides will turn? But like, oh, see, there he is in front of the tree. You watch the trailer. He gets in front of the tree. He raises the magic sword, and you're like, ah, yes, this is what I want. And
Ah, the tree and the sword. Ah, yes.
I don't. That's it. That's what I want. I just want to bask in the shadow of that fucking tree, man.
Yeah, it's a cool world.
I definitely had a moment where I'm like, I should get that tattooed to my body somewhere, but it's very large, and I'm not a large man.
So one of the games that I've heard spoken about that I know nothing about
Mhm.
from this
Mhm.
thing is Exodus.
That, yeah, Exodus.
It looks like Returnal, maybe, sort of.
Yeah, that's the one that Matthew McConaughey came on stage to be like, all right, all right, all right. Well, he's like, I'm not going to
Okay.
say my catchphrase. And then he sets the catchphrase, and you're like, okay, that feels like cheating. Um,
Hmm.
yeah.
So this is the one that didn't hit for either of you guys.
Well, because it's just like, it's the games like this where it's like, okay, here's a big crazy world and it's got kind of a narrative focus and maybe it's a little spooky. We've seen like a grip of these games in the last year or so. And so like this initial cinematic trailer just can't stand out from the fucking noise, right? Where you're like, okay, the trailer's nice. I don't care, man. What's the gameplay like? Is this cool or interesting in some moment to moment fashion that distracts or separates itself from all of the other games that look and feel quite a bit like this?
Mm.
Yeah, it does not look unique. Hmm.
Right? Like
No.
All right, that was kind of
I
cool.
don't care, man.
I,
Like
I,
I love McConaughey. He's great. Like when he shows up in a project, I perk up a little. I'm like, all right, buddy, crazy dude, what are you doing? But like,
I'm getting some Dune vibes.
God, they should be so lucky to touch the hem of that fucking franchise's robe.
Exactly. And I'm sure that's exactly what they thought.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's this is a game where like when it comes out, you know, the hype might build then, but like
Oh, it'll probably be terrible.
I I actually I'm watching the trailer again, and they do that thing where like they make traveling in space such an ordeal where it's like we went through this portal, years has passed, now I'm separated from this person because of the fucking nature of physics and the fact that we're like 50 or 100 years apart or whatever.
Right.
That always hits for me because I don't know, it just gets me right in the guts where I'm like, oh fuck, that's crazy. You go on a journey, who knows what comes at the other side of it, who knows if you'll meet alive. You're basically saying goodbye forever to everyone you know or care about. That's crazy to me. That's amazing. If they take that premise and run with it and make it work and land that plane, fuck yes. Fuck yes. If they can do that, great. But functionally also it just sort of looks like a lot of games. So I don't super care.
Yeah. I got a Game
Uh,
Awards related question
okay.
here. What won for best music?
Uh, Final Fantasy, didn't it?
See, this is the thing. There's a whole bunch of categories that they just like blew past. Or like, oh, okay, we're
They
gonna
do that
we're gonna
every
run.
year, though.
And every year I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody online pointed out that what they should do is you should split it up into two shows, aired in the same day. So like first you do the awards, and everybody gets their time, and then they get their speeches and they talk, and then we celebrate for like I don't know an hour or something, or an hour and a half. And then Trailer Fest 2024. And you just hit people with them over and over again. Hit them again and again. You're like, fuck yes. First we celebrate, now we hype, you know? Cause like right now it just feels like the people who make the games aren't getting any shine, and it's gonna change who shows up for these events.
Right.
Right? Where it's like, and it's already part of the big cultural conversation where it's like, these things don't fucking matter. And Jeff has the potential to make them matter. And all he has to do is give these people who make these games a little time and attention. People were asking why they didn't say anything about current world events. And I argue that Jeff does not have the hard drive space or the bandwidth or the processing power to address such a topic, and I genuinely would not want him to. I've seen the way this man banters and talks and approaches things generally on stage. I don't want him to talk about wars. I feel like the words will sound flat and unsettling and hollow coming out of his mouth.
Right.
Now, if somebody who wins an award were to be like, and I'm going to spend 30 seconds of my time talking about an issue, and then they play them off, and it's all tense and weird. I love that. That rips. Do that every time. That's amazing. Great high drama added to a format that generally can always use it. I don't want Jeff to talk about it.
But also, not every event has to be about everything.
No.
You know, if you follow that path, then everything just becomes a boilerplate list of things that need to be ticked off, and you know, opinion falls by the wayside, and everything's the same.
It's maybe if like a developer is from an area that's currently
no, I agree with you on the like acceptance speech side of things. But if it becomes like,
for sure,
the Game Awards first, before we can proceed, must address these 9 wars that are going on, and here's this injustice that's happening in these 5 different places. Like,
it's sort of like what any time for the locals, anytime you go to a live event in the greater Vancouver area, first they have to pay lip service to the fact that we stole this land from one indigenous tribe or another.
Yeah.
Now, doing so doesn't materially benefit the indigenous tribe in any way whatsoever, but we do acknowledge that we did the thing a few generations ago, and we're really hoping that that's enough. Sorry,
basically.
I have complicated feelings about that. anyways, video games. Sorry.
Let's get back to the real important topics, James.
So, did you guys watch that trailer for the thing from the Entitled Goose Game people, House?
No.
No.
It's called Big Walk.
Oh.
And I don't really understand it. You watch the trailer, you don't super get what it's going to be about, but like, it kind of seems like it's like a multiplayer game where you're exploring nature. And I really want to know where they're going with it, because they knocked it out of the park with Untitled Goose Game. They really fucking nailed it.
Oh yeah. Right.
Oh my god.
The rather misnamed Untitled Goose Game, I must say.
Yeah.
Untitled Goose Game being the title. So it's a titled Goose Game.
Yeah. You could just call it Goose Game, but you know, it's not as cheeky. So,
okay, this looks kind of weird and good.
Right? Just some weird little dudes, and they're like, it's a video game for you and your friends. And you're like, okay, multiplayer, great, love that for us. And
wow, look at those legs. Jeez.
Got some like first person vibes, some little dudes shooting, looks like a flare gun into the sky. And there's this shot where they're all like gathering around this giant hole, and they just sort of like dive into it. And I got powerful vibes from that section. Something about it just felt like really, really potent in some way I don't know how to describe, where I was like, yes, I want to be in this weird world with these little fuckers. I want to be a part of this.
That's like starkly different because they've got this realistic landscape and then there's this flat yellow surface with a giant hole in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, I'd play this.
Yeah, right. It's just like something ineffable about it draws the eye.
I did also see that they announced Pony Island too.
Jesus, yes. Holy shit. Yes, they absolutely announced Pony Island too.
Pony Island being fucking amazing, and
Yes.
from the people that also made Inscription.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I see that Sungwon Cho, voice actor and YouTuber that I quite like, has a role in this, which pleased to see. It's got the same weird, unsettling vibes. And like really, if you've played any amount of Daniel Mullins' games, they all do this. They all do this where it's like, okay, kind of cool at first. Let's peel a layer back, see what's underneath, and it's unsettling. Huzzah!
Yeah.
Oh man, this looks amazing.
Yeah.
It makes no sense and I love it.
Yeah. Okay. And I've you guys played the first Pony Island?
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. Oh my
Oh, you
god,
should.
buddy.
I don't know if I had
You-
even heard of it.
It's
until this.
it's a wonderfully weird experience.
Yeah. Is it PC?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a quick little interlude too. It's only a few hours.
Okay. Yeah. No, I never heard of it. Can we see some more footage from that game that I was talking about though? What's it called? What the fuck is it called? I've already forgotten it again. The one from the
Tell-
Ori's.
Yes, the Ori dudes. The Ori
Yeah.
dudes. Okay.
Uh,
Okay. No rest for the wicked is what it's called.
Yeah.
there it is.
Man, this game looks dope.
Did they say anything about it, or is it just this trailer?
It's coming out in February or March.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not too far away.
It's the Ori guys and it's Private Division, which is a cool combo.
Yep.
Good dudes doing good work.
And it's a top down or a side scroller.
Top down,
Okay.
and it's gorgeous, as you would expect from these developers.
Oh,
And it looks fucking fun. Looks fast paced. Kind of like almost Hades esque in its action.
ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is another one of the trailers. This happened to me over and over again throughout the TGA, where like I see something and I'm like, okay, I've never heard of this. I know nothing about this. This could be cool. I kind of need people to talk about it closer to the release date. I need real human beings to interact with this and give me their opinions on it, and to like build organic hype, so I can like, you know what I mean? So I can sort of like get a sense of it, because trailers are dirty fucking liars by nature. They're just like, we're gonna show you some cinematics, we're gonna play some amazing music, we're gonna really play some tricks with the camera angles. And so I've grown very distrustful of trailers in general,
Yeah.
unless it's like just like 2 minutes of raw gameplay footage, and even then I have a hard time like getting a grip on
Man,
it.
if these
You know what I mean?
top-down sections are what the game actually looks like, it looks stunning. Like some of
Right?
the grass
Fucking
blowing
nice.
around and the trees and stuff. Woo!
Yeah.
Man, looks good. Fully on board.
Yeah. So give me that one. Yeah. That's probably what I'm most excited for. I mean, that and the new Monster Hunter.
Oh yeah, I heard that happened.
That was probably the climax of the reveals. And it's a long ways off. It's 2025.
I mean, a lot of things are 2025.
Yeah. But I mean, from what they showed, looks cool.
Now,
Yeah.
what arm of Monster Hunter does this come from? Is this an extension of Monster Hunter World or more?
It seemed
in
like
the...
World. It seemed like World. It seemed like
Okay.
it
Alright.
seemed like one of the bigger entries into the series. Whereas I felt Rise was a bit more contained. It definitely
Yeah,
feels
this one
like
they say it looks like it's going fully open world.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It looks like it's relatively far along.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm watching the trailer now, and it seems like 2025 feels like a reasonable time for this to release.
Yeah.
Based on what I'm seeing, like, yeah, let's give this one a lot of time in the oven. What do we say?
Early 2025, February or
Yeah.
March.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like that's Capcom's bread and butter. They love that February, March,
Yeah.
and not just for their throwaway game. Their bangers come out then.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise, that trailer just blew by, man. You run around a big world, there's a dust storm. They're like, hey, the world, it's big. That's all we're telling you.
What else?
I mean, there's a bunch of weird little games that something called the Finals. I don't know anything about. The Final Fantasy 16 DLC. The first part of it dropped, which I've played, and then the Rising Tide is coming out in the spring. Ish.
The so the finals is actually a pretty sweet competitive shooter, free to play. And its selling point is that there's like basically 100% environmental destruction,
Oh,
which actually works really well. So there's like certain characters that can like blast through a wall or through a ceiling or whatever, and create new pathways to get to the objectives and whatnot. It's actually pretty good. It's pretty good. It's got some really nice lighting effects, some nice reflections in it for a free to play game. It's probably the best looking free to play game I would say I've seen.
and it's already out.
It did the it was in beta last month for a week or two, and nobody knew when it was going to come out, and then on TGA night they announced that it was coming out that night. Yeah. So it's pretty sweet. If you like
Oh,
shooters,
oh yeah.
those competitive games, it's free to play, so I recommend checking it out.
The destructive option that really adds a neat little wrinkle to it, where
Yeah.
you're going through walls and doing wild shit and like.
And it looks great too, and it like no matter how much destruction was going on, no matter how many particles were floating around the screen, I didn't notice any frame drops during the beta. It all ran very, very smoothly.
Nice.
That's honestly something I expected to see more out of games in this generation, and maybe we will. But, enough of the wall that you can't knock down.
Yeah.
Like, what's with the limitations at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just start blowing shit up. I mean, that's basically what we've got from this generation, is just the ability to like play in the space as much as possible, because graphically it was sort of a lateral move from PS4 to PS5 and from Xbox One to Xbox Series X.
Mhm.
So like we might as well. If we're still in the same fucking fishbowl, we might as well crack the glass a little bit, you know?
Anything else? Or should we just talk about games that we've been playing? Because it's been a long time since we talked about what we've been playing.
You know what? Let's take a little time to check in with each other. You know, what have you been dipping into? What have you touched? What have you finished? What have you all that jazz? Paul, why don't you go first?
I mean, we've kind of touched on the big one, that being Baldur's Gate. And I'm sorry I didn't play it sooner, honestly. It's so good.
Just telling y'all to.
I know you were. I know you were.
I was begging.
You were. You literally were.
I was intimidated, and I was right to feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on, but they've done such a good job putting all the pieces together, and it's really well written, so that when you fail a roll or when you miss something because you're the wrong class or whatever, you feel like, well, I just want to play it again. I'll play it again as something else. I'll try it again as a class that has better perception or whatever to try and see more of it. It's very easy to role play, and intentionally so. You know, other quote unquote role playing games make it very hard for you to play the character as that character would be, or to create a character that you then embody. This makes it so easy. So it's a great implementation of D&D rules, D&D worlds. Love all the characters. The combat's fun. The exploration is great. No notes. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've dipped into it a little bit. You know, had some battles, had some laughs, had some fun. Made myself a tiefling and tiefling sorcerer, and he's great. He's a fucking delight. I'm already thinking of what my next character's gonna be. Like, I'm already like, so I'm playing this again, right? Like, obviously I'm playing this again. Which, wow, it's been a long time since there was a game where it's like, okay, not only is this good, but you're definitely doing it several times. You're
Yeah.
definitely doing it several times.
And probably with no gap. Like, you could just finish the game and go back to the beginning.
I have a friend who came to visit recently. We had a chance to sit down for lunch, and he was telling me about his time with Baldur's Gate 3. And yeah, it really seems like you end up playing several times. I heard somebody say like I've probably put like 300 hours in this game. I'm like, that feels very reasonable. That's a reasonable amount of time to spend playing Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
And part of that is fueled with interactions you have with other people who are playing the game, but not necessarily in your game, where, you know, I've mentioned something that has happened to somebody else, and they're like, really? Nothing like that happened in my game. This is how that played out. I'm like, really? What did you do to get to that point? And it's fascinating that there is that kind of flexibility. And, you know, we've dunked on the 16,000 endings quite a few times on this podcast, but I don't know. That kind of variability seems like it's probably pretty feasible and probably pretty significant, that every playthrough is going to have some seriously different outcomes.
Yeah, and apparently a big draw, one of the many big draws, is that like you'll have a little encounter with a minor character of no consequence in Act 1, and that will come back to you in the last act. You will see. There's a good chance you will see that character again, and like they will have had a whole journey, and then you get to like see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Also, and it's worth mentioning, there's many things worth mentioning about Baldur's Gate 3 because this is D&D writ large on the digital stage. Never discount the possibility of seduction. If there's an encounter you can fuck your way out of, you can do it. All right. don't ever toss that option aside. You could try and you might succeed.
Yeah, it's really something. I've not played anything quite like that in a long time, and not to this caliber.
Yeah.
Or this density of things going on everywhere all the time. Really something.
I feel split evenly down the middle, because part of me just wants to spend all of my free time playing more Baldur's Gate 3. Part of me wants to buy and finish Alan Wake 2 in like 2 sittings.
Yeah.
It's a lot longer than the first one.
That's exciting. I'm excited by that.
Yeah, I would say it's at least twice as long. I think my first playthrough was like 25 hours.
Okay.
Maybe close to the 30.
Wow.
Because Alan Wake, that series has the vibes that I love, where it's like weird and spooky and like everything means something, everything.
Yeah.
So I love that, and the writing and the ridiculous voice acting, it's like, the goofy over the top sincerity, the fucking the wonderful power of that story draws me in. But also Baldur's Gate 3 is like this once in a lifetime experience that I'm like kicking myself every time I'm not playing it. I'm like, you dumb motherfucker, what are you doing? Go back to Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
Well, if we want to move on to Alan Wake 2, I did play a bit of that as well. And the thing that's striking me so far is just how stylized it is. And this has been the case for Remedy games for a long time. Like most recently with Control, that being extremely stylish and like unapologetically one of their games. And this is even further in that direction, where it's to this point where Remedy has its own vibe. It's almost like a Kojima game, in that you know you're going to get something really brilliant and really strange in a lot of weird ways, but a lot of common themes as well, and things that come back to kind of nudge of like, hey, you also played this other Remedy thing, didn't you? But it plays really well too. We kind of touched on that Alan Wake 1 doesn't hold up quite so well on the gameplay side. I feel like this is relatively tight controlling as far as these kinds of games go. It's got a little bit of that control is intentionally a little bit difficult because it wants to generate tension. But as some of the gameplay concepts that are in there, like Saga going to the Mind Palace to put together the crimes and things like that. Really enjoying those little moments that pull you away from the general sequence of the story. I think it's pretty great.
Yeah.
So I feel like I played a lot of shit. There was one I technically I can't talk about it until tomorrow, but I can tell you, hey, you should check out the trailer for Custom Mech Wars. Okay. I can't, strictly speaking, say anything about the game, but I do feel like the trailer says a lot about Custom Mech Wars. Based on the trailer, this is a game where you fight with mechs, with giant robots. Some of them are wacky. A lot of them are wacky. A lot of them are wacky robots.
Some might even say custom.
Yeah. Yes, custom Mech Wars. I encourage everybody to check out the trailer. The game drops pretty soon this week. I think my review goes live tomorrow morning. And yeah, I think the trailer has features a mech that's just like a tank with the legs of a lady, just sort of running around, shooting things. And there's one that's like a hamburger. There's like a hamburger mech.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And there's one they call the drill dick mech, which is like a robot with like a giant drill right around the hog region. And yeah, that's the vibe. That's the vibe for Custom Mech War. I can, because it's out, I can talk about the first DLC for Final Fantasy 16, because you could just play that. They dropped that with the Game Awards. Echoes of the Fallen, it's called. And it follows this formula I've seen the Pokemon games do a lot, where you have a 2-part DLC. Breath of the Wild did this too, where you have a 2-part DLC, and the first part is just like, did you find the game hard? We can make it a little harder with some battles, right? So that's part 1, and then part 2, they hit you with some story shit. So for Echoes of the Fallen, you just run up this crazy tower to like take apart this like manufactured mother crystal. So you do all these crazy mini bosses, and then you fight this final boss, which took me, God, I want to say like 7 or 8 tries.
Okay.
Part of that is that like I had to like get into the rhythm of it, like because the combat's very involved, and I had to like come back and like get my sea legs, so to speak. Part of it is just like a lot of this thing's attacks move very fast. They cross the entire arena very quickly, and you get that thing because 16 is made by the guys who do 14. You get a lot of attacks where like the ground at your feet will give you a sort of preview where it's like, oh no, don't stand there. That's death. Stand over there. That's good. You know, you get a lot of attacks like that in Final Fantasy 16, where it's like, no. You have to be here, so you live. And, and there's a lot of battles like that. And there's a lot of battles where you just have to like get your dodge timing perfect and like do your perfect combos and shit like that, and like really get into it. But it's sort of it's basically Echoes of the Fallen is basically like an appetizer, which again 2-part DLC generally works like this. Like the first part is just, hey, do you remember this game? It exists. We have more shit coming. Here's a little, here's a few bread rolls, maybe a spring roll to like, keep you into it. And then next spring, I think they say it's going to be, they're going to do the real DLC, which is going to have like more actual story content and more crazy shit to do. Because this one is just like, do a bunch of battles, get a cool sword, get some new music, go to the mirror and change your appearance. And you're like, okay, cool. That's neat. That took me 3 hours. What do you got? Nothing. Come back in March. Yeah. But I did take the opportunity when I fired it up again to like, because to access the DLC, you have to be basically at the end of the game. And I have a save just set aside for such a thing right at the end. So I just fired that up and I was like, oh, I have some side quests to do. So I did a few of those and I ran around. I reacquainted myself with the world and I took my time with it. And then I did the first DLC and it felt great. It felt great to go back to that world and see these people and do these battles and all this cool shit. And because I have finished the game, the vibes are very weird because you see all these characters and you're like, okay, I know what happens to you and it's not very far off either. but we're just gonna go on a little side adventure, and that's fine, I guess. It's a very weird. It's a very weird thing where you dig into a story-focused DLC of a story-focused game, and you're like, okay, we're gonna branch off for a second, but also, you know what's coming for these guys.
Mm.
Still haven't finished that game, by the way.
Ah. Ah. Yeah. Anyways, characters, fates, they have them. It's weird. Anyways. Also, Paul, what the fuck?
I know. I started playing so many other things. You know, there's Baldur's Gate, and there was Alan Wake, and I platinum Spider-Man, and I beat Mario Wonder. I played a lot of Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh my god, we should talk about Mario Wonder for a minute.
Yeah, sure.
You played it. What'd you think?
I'm of two minds about this game. One is the mind that I had while I was playing the game, which is that it's really great. This is a lot of fun. It's very creative. There's a lot of really weird stuff going on here. And man, this game plays really well. It controls a lot better than the new Super Mario Brothers franchise. It was way more fun to play. And now there's the mind that I have now, which is I barely remember any of it. Which is fascinating that it was that engaging at the time and yet almost entirely forgettable.
Well, I have a counterpoint.
Please.
To me, Mario Wonder hews a little closer to the other older Mario titles. I think the best comparison is actually Super Mario World. And to me, that's a game that encourages and rewards mastery and multiple playthroughs. Basically what happened was I played through it for the purposes of the review. And I wanted to play it with my wife because it's a 2D game and she doesn't really do 3D because she gets motion sickness. So this is perfect. But you can't have multiple save files. So I just wiped it. I just took my file that I used to beat the game and do the review, and I wiped it, and I'm like, all right, we're going to do it again with my wife. It's going to be great. And it was so good. I played through it a second time, like 2 weeks later. It was still amazing. There was things I missed the first time you go back, and you're like, little challenges that you couldn't quite get the right the first time, or little things you wanted to do it a slightly different way, or like wonder seeds, or like exits that you missed and shit like that. Like I'm the sort of person who wants a game short enough that I feel good about beating it over and over again, because probably just because the games that I remember best from my childhood are the ones that I can sit down in one day and like take down front to back. And I feel like we've kind of lost that a little bit to some extent. There are definitely games where you can do this, and I think those are amazing experiences. I feel like I feel like everybody needs that. Every gamer needs that game that they can sit down and just like take down start to finish. And they know it like the back of their hand. And they've beaten it like 20 times. And I feel like Mario Wonder has potential to be that sort of game for a new generation of players.
Mm-hmm.
Because it encourages it. You can skip pathways. You can choose the order that you do things in. You can you can bypass stages. You can do all this crazy nonsense. It's good. And you know the boss fights also sort of encourage like you doing little tricks to like get through them as quickly as possible. And mechanically, it's so tight and so well constructed that like you can do crazy shit every stage, which I really appreciate. Like, it's not going to make any waves. It's not going to make a lot of lists. I feel like it should at least take the 10th spot on our top 10 this year, but mechanically, it's a really fucking impressive 2D Mario game. Probably the best one they've released in like a couple of decades.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's in terms of the quality of the gameplay, it's in that same. You can say it in the same breath as Super Mario World. Like it
Yeah.
plays that well. But again, I wish there were more things that I remembered from it as like, oh man, I love that level. I would go back and play that again. Like I'd go back and
They-
specifically seek that one out. And I remember a
I-
couple like here's the one that had the dancing piranha plants. That's really
all the
weird.
musical sequences are so
The
good.
musical
I
ones are
loved
good.
all of those.
But, if I think about the last Mario game that I super loved, that being Mario Odyssey, every one of those worlds was so memorable. I remember the candy one, and I remember the one that had the giant T-Rex for some reason. Things like that.
think
There's just fewer of those, and not that it needs to be that grandiose or anything like that. But yeah, I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it was just when I played it that it just didn't stick for whatever reason, but
I think it's because Mario Odyssey has fewer stages that are larger that you spend more time exploring.
could
And
be.
so they stick in your brain. Whereas like Mario Wonder, it's just like a quick snap, pop. You're just blazing through them, and before you know it, you're done. Some of the stages take like 55 seconds to complete,
Yeah.
and you get like the crazy Wonder Seed experience, and it's different every fucking time. Different crazy Wonder Seed bullshit every time, but they're very fast. And I missed a bunch on my first playthrough, and so I want to go back and me and my wife would slowly play through it. I'm like, yes, we should check out this one or this one. Or this one. We should play them all because I missed a few of them. I want to see every single one of them. But yeah, it's a very different experience. I understand. Mario Odyssey is designed to sort of stick in your brain more because you spend a lot more time at each stage.
But yeah, I think you're right. It deserves a spot on the top 10. It's an easy 9 out of 10.
Yeah, easy. I think I gave it like a 9 or a 9.5, and I feel pretty good about that. It was mechanically, it's incredibly tight.
You can't overstate that either. That just how much better it feels to play this than any of those new Super Mario Brothers games.
Yeah, they fucking nailed it.
Good job, Nintendo.
Yeah.
Was there something else we were going to talk about? Spider-Man, I guess? Did we talk about Spider-Man, Rhett?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I think we did. Anyways, I platinumed it. Because something like 60% of people who have even booted that game up have platinumed it.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
wild.
it's just like the first one. It's like if you put in 25 to 30 hours, you can get it done. Nothing is too challenging. It encourages you to explore the majority of the game, and yeah, I think it's a fun platinum to go for.
Yeah.
Nothing tedious about it.
And top quality story. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Well acted. Well paced.
yeah.
Good thrill ride.
I played. Did we talk about Mario the Super Mario RPG remake for the Switch?
We did not.
Well, I've beaten that game like the original version like 12 to 15 times. And yeah, the new one is also great. I don't know. I can't talk about it in an objective way because it's one of the games. It's one of the Super NES games that I can sit down in a single sitting and just like knock out front to back. And they've preserved that, where it's like if you want to, you can just get in there and make it happen. But also they've expanded it to the point where there's like extra bosses and shit that like come up at the end of the game. Like once you beat it, you can go and find these like crazy difficult battles. I haven't actually finished all of them because there's the fight with like Booster, the weird dude in the tower. You go back to fight him after the credits roll in the post game, and he has this like train attack that wipes the entire party. And it's like a puzzle where you have to figure out how to not let him do that. And I haven't solved that puzzle. Because you can't defend against it. You can't block it. You can't, like, buff up your stats or anything because you max out at level 30 and you're kind of tough, but not particularly. So you have to, or some trick to, like, solve that fight. And apparently there's, like, a 3D version of the Culex fight, which I really want to get into. Because, like, I remember that was the big battle, right? Like, the Culex battle was the big, cool, secret battle. You could do that one. You were, like, the man. You were, like, the Mario RPG guy. So I want to look up some strats and, like, get to that fight because, fuck, man. What a rush. What a fun time.
Yeah, I'll be starting that game tonight on stream.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's great. Did you ever play the original?
Yeah.
Oh,
Not
well,
as much
then-
as you. I think I beat it just once, and I was really
Yeah.
young. Yeah.
Okay. You'll probably to your benefit because the timing is so particular for the Super NES version, and it's slightly different for the Switch version.
Right.
So I had like this adjustment period where I was like, "Oh no, it's slightly different. It's slightly different." So I was like missing the timed hits a bunch of times, but I got there.
Right.
God,
So
I
I'm
love that.
very much looking forward to it.
I love that fucking
Would-
game.
Would you recommend RPG or Wonder first?
I don't know. I probably, if you've never played Mario RPG, I would recommend Mario RPG. But I love that game and I'm very biased about it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But like, Wonder is a really, really good 2D platformer.
Right.
Probably the best one they've released in like a decade or two.
Nice.
It's a tough call. They're both very good games.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have a lot of fun.
Speaking of, probably maybe think about wrap.
Yeah, I was gonna say usually go live in like 20 minutes here, big guy.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah.
well, it's been good catching up here, fellas. Played a
Yeah.
lot of stuff, and in the last like month, my opinions on games this year have shifted so much. Just played so many different things.
Yeah.
So, I think we're gonna have an interesting discussion.
Yeah, the next podcast, I think, probably, right? Might be the Game of the Year one.
I mean, we probably won't do one on Christmas Day. That seems like probably we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll figure out a time. We'll figure out a time and do the thing.
Yeah, I've all of the time between the 22nd and like the 4th. I don't work.
Ooh, wow!
Yeah, I booked
Nice.
it.
Look at you, fancy man.
Well, because like I'm a government employee, so the 25th and the 26th I just don't generally work, right? And then New Year's Day or whatever is also out, so like because the way they fall, the days they fall on, it's like a big chunk of time.
Well, thanks for hanging out, folks. Watching live if you're watching live, or listening later if you're listening later. We appreciate you. Appreciate you taking the time. Make sure you swing by the channel, watch Rhett. Jump into Super Mario RPG Remake.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll be back with more real soon. Thanks for hanging out. And we'll talk to you again real soon right here on Press X to Podcast.